Okay, this is episode 8 of Analytical Astrology, and I've made a few notes. I want to talk a little bit about a couple of things, and I've got a couple of things to show you, but it's probably going to take me more than 10 minutes, and then I'm up against the 10-minute YouTube limit. But I think if you're enjoying this and you want to see the rest, I think you're going to have to go to the website, because I'm only going to put the first 10 minutes or so on YouTube. So that said, if you've been following along, you know I'm calling this type of approach analytical astrology, and I want to make the point that you can't just add this analytical approach to what you already do, because, and this is what I want to show you now, the foundation is different in various ways. So my take, my position and my approach and what I'm looking for from my horoscope is different from what you would normally find or what people typically nowadays would do. And here's one way. This, that we know is a sign for Gemini, right? And everyone knows Gemini. And so one of the things I was taught and that I tell people is that Gemini worries. So if you notice, Geminis are always looking for something to worry about. So if you have a Gemini in your life and you solve a problem for the Gemini, all you've done is created a situation where the Gemini has to look for something else to worry about. And so people involved with astrology, they try to get Geminis to stop worrying so much. But all this does is show that these astrologers, quote unquote, don't really know astrology. And that's part of what I'm trying to get across with these little episodes on analytical astrology. And here's something else. This is the Scorpio, right? And there's the moon. And the thing is, men with the moon in Scorpio have a menstrual cycle. And this means that for a couple of days each month, if a man with the moon in Scorpio is going to lose his temper or act abominably or do something horrible, it's going to happen at the same time each month. It's not that every month they're going to do something bad, but you'll find with men with the moon in Scorpio that there's when the moon is going through one sign in particular, and it varies depending on other factors, that's the 2.5-day period when they're likely to become impossible or to do something that is, let's say, obnoxious. But the thing is, it's going to happen at the same time each month, not that it will happen every month. So there's a fellow I know, he's a Cancerian with the moon in Scorpio. With him, when the moon's in Leo, that's when you've got to watch out. And that's when he knows he has to watch out as well. There's one other fellow, an Aries with the moon in Scorpio. With him, when the moon was in Scorpio, that's when he was likely to explode or implode. And so, this is how these people are built. Whereas astrologers, most people that you know, won't let this be. They take the person, the man with the moon in Scorpio, and they want to fix him or change him or correct him, rather than understand that this is how the person's built, and let people be them, who they are, let them be themselves. And it's as if people think, okay, I know what you're like, and I know what you ought to be like, what you should be like, and I'm going to try and get you, the man with the Scorpio moon, to fit so you've got a bad temper and you ought not to have one, so let's make you more balanced. And it's as if they've got this ideal or this template in mind and they want to superimpose it on the man with the moon in Scorpio. And I say, don't, leave him alone, because that's how he's built. And we all ought to respect that and let him be himself. And so during that 2.5-day period with the moon in the particular sign, leave him alone. Don't go and visit him. Or if you do go and visit him, understand that this is the time when if he's going to explode, this is when he'll do it. So, but the thing is, a lot of people just don't get that and don't want anything to do with it, and think that we ought to be able to be correct and be perfect and be, act the way that somebody somewhere says we ought to act. And I say, leave people alone, let them be themselves, even if it doesn't suit us. Because the thing is, with astrology, it teaches that we can't change people to suit ourselves. But with astrology, we have the chance to understand people correctly and become tolerant. And it's a bit like, there's life is, let's say, this size, and people are, part of life, but they're only that size. And so astrology deals with life in its entirety, not just with people who are like a subset of life. And so astrology deals with the all, with everything. And it's not just a little tool that we can use to, let's say, to understand people better. There's something, a while ago I did this talk for Astrology Toronto. And at one point during the talk I said, okay, and I'd like you, the listener right now, to do this. What I want you to do is clasp your hands, interlace your fingers and clasp your hands like that. Okay? You can see what I'm doing there. So everybody should do that now. And I'll give you a couple of seconds to put down your pen or whatever you're doing. So everybody's done that, right? So the point is, if your right thumb is on top, you're more influenced by your father. If your left thumb is on top, you're more influenced by your mother. And the thing is, if you do this, you're going to find that one position is more comfortable than the other. And so, I mentioned this in passing, I forget why I mentioned it during that class, but I think it's partly because, okay, no, I forget that, but somebody in the class said, okay, what I would do, she said, what I would do is get people, because she taught astrology classes, and she said what I would do, I would get people to deliberately put their hands in the position that was uncomfortable and didn't feel right, so that people could learn to overcome and become more balanced. And I thought, what's the matter with you? What's wrong with one thumb, or with being influenced by one parent more than the other? Why do you want to mess around with something and turn people into what they're not? I could not understand any good reason for it, but that's what people do, and it's what I think is leading to giving us problems. And that's why in section 2, or I think it's section 2 of the course, I've got this little part called Developing an Astrological Understanding. And in it, I think I give an example of, there was a woman at a conference, and she had many planets in Pisces. And she spoke to Robert Hand and said, what can I do, because I don't like being this watery? And he said to her, okay, at certain times, act in a deliberately Virgo way, because Virgo's always at Pisces. And if you act in a deliberately Virgo way, then you're going to, in some way, make your Piscean planets more earthy. And the woman was very pleased with this. And I thought, this is completely stupid. Because if you get many planets in Pisces and you have nothing in Virgo, what you're going to do is give a water sign a Piscean impression of Virgo. You're not going to become Virgo-like. It's going to be a watery version of what the Piscean thinks Virgo ought to be like, or thinks what Virgo is like. And it just doesn't, I'm still going to say it doesn't wash, you just don't get it. So what do you do? And so there's this, I'd like to show you this. There's a diagram by Safariel in one of his books, and he starts like this. There's Cancer and there's Leo. And so we've got Cancer, and before Cancer, and that's the Cancer ruled by the moon, Leo ruled by the sun. Before Cancer you've got Gemini, and after Leo you've got Virgo. Gemini ruled by Mercury, Virgo ruled by Mercury. And if you go out, you're going to find a little diagram. And this is an interesting diagram in itself. And you ought to, I say you ought to, if you take some time and think about it and play with it and ponder on it and imagine things to do with it, you're going to find interesting information. And as an example, there's Cancer's keyword is I feel. And Leo's is I will, in the sense of my will be done. So feelings reflect the will, because the moon reflects the sun. The moon is no light of her own. She reflects the sun.